Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White, still an employment attorney, and still not properly lit. We have solutions on the way, possibly, hopefully, but in the meantime, I think a poorly lit video probably makes more sense than no video at all. Because frankly, I'm not seeing me is not really the relevant part of this, right? Like the getting people answers is supposed to be the relevant part. And today we have a question from a viewer of the channel. Username FitGirlLegBusta. Sounds like a hell of a workout. Um, Says some nice things and then says, I feel like you end up either empowering or disappointing many people who have issues with their employers. Yeah, that's the gig. A lot of people don't, they're not too thrilled when they don't receive the answer they want. So that always sucks. I hate giving people that bad news. It always feels terrible. This person goes on, I've been working overtime for a rich corporation that pays well enough, but I feel like the human version of the goose that laid the golden egg with all the burnout. Yeah, I do not blame you. The staffing crisis has a lot of people feeling that way, without a doubt. I mean, I think there's just people being worked to death. So you have to be careful. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Has the current wave of anti-work sentiment affected your industry at all? Running into more people with inflated expectations or people who are jaded by the laws that more often support employers than employees? Yes. So I made a video about the Reddit anti-work movement not so long ago. All right. I guess I'm not really in the frame here. And so there's like this Reddit anti-work movement, and the original ethos of that movement appears to be this belief that U.S. citizens should not have to work to survive. And I specify U.S. citizens because very clearly there are many places in the world where people are starving to death, right? Where scarcity economics is clearly the law of the land, and there's no conceivable way that you could argue that a person could get by without working of some kind, right? Some kind of labor is required in all of these places to survive. Now, can you make the argument that labor is not required to survive in the U.S.? Maybe. Maybe, and I'm not an economist, and I'm not here to engage in that argument, but I say U.S. citizen because it's kind of clear that this is one of the few places in the world where this theory could even be tested, right? This theory that people shouldn't have to work to have a living. And this is kind of, I assume, tied in with the UBI, Universal Basic Income, right? So one of the things that Andrew Yang kind of ran his presidential campaign on, the idea that people should receive some kind of, universal basic income, some amount of money, some allowance that helps you to survive without actually requiring you to work, right? And listen, I think that's kind of a fun philosophical discussion. I think there's something economists can talk about. I also think it's very, very clear that we're not there today, right? We do not exist in a world that is post-scarcity economics yet. Scarcity is very real. We're kind of getting a wake-up call into how real scarcity is right now with some of the things going on, like you can't buy a computer because there's no computer chips, and people are worried about fertilizer. Farmers can't buy fertilizer anymore, and that's really concerning because how are they going to feed people? How are they going to grow the food to feed the people, right? And even me, I need propane for my home in New Hampshire, and Russia bought it all from the U.S., so there wasn't a whole bunch, and it was pretty expensive when I found some, and all the restaurants near me had to shut down because they couldn't get propane to run their business and heat their business, which was scary, honestly, kind of scary, right? And listen, we worked it out. We found we needed to find. It's not the end of the world. It's just, kind of a reminder that scarcity is still real. And in a world where there's scarcity, we might not be ready to run the universal basic income experiment yet, although I understand there are arguments as to how or why we could. And I'm not really qualified to have that discussion. But That's quick background. And the other video I made on Reddit, No Work, is worth hitting up, I think, because it kind of touches upon the split. These people who are going the No Work split, and they believe in Reddit No Work as a concept, not Reddit change work, not Reddit better conditions for work, not use the staffing crisis as leverage to get better conditions for everyone, but rather they go, no work, shouldn't have to work. No work for me, no more. Makes me a dull person, right? Well, those people who went that route were often people who used to support the idea of we should have better conditions for employees. Employees should have more leverage, right? And it was important to add their voices because employees, workers, really only have power when they collaborate in large groups. They have to collectivize. They have, and I'm not by any stretch a socialist, but I do believe that unions matter. Organized labor matters. Cooperation matters. If you do not cooperate, then as a worker, you're just going to get whatever the employer feels like giving you, right? And what they feel like giving you is not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. It's not going to be a good life. They just don't care about you. They're amoral actors. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anyone. It's why they're treating you like the goose that laid the golden egg, and they're happy to work you to death, right? They just don't care. So it affects our industry in that all these voices who used to be ardent people pushing, talking about, thinking about improving working conditions, a bunch of them just decided, I shouldn't have to work anymore. Which means they're not thinking about improving working conditions anymore. And they're probably not talking about improving working conditions anymore. What they're doing now is thinking about, how do I get away with not working? How do I apply pressure to politicians so I don't have to work anymore? And listen, I don't think that's the most realistic goal. I'm just one fella. What do I know? But it just doesn't seem realistic to me. Seems, at the risk of being accused of shots fired here, it seems a bit silly in 2022. It just seems silly. To me, and again, not an economist, what do I know? But it does extinguish their voices from the other side of the equation, which is we should have better working conditions. We should have better pay. Pensions should be indexed for inflation because we keep electing officials who are driving inflation through the roof, and that means pensions aren't really that valuable because they're not indexed for inflation. So if inflation's really, really high, well, then consistently your pension becomes less and less valuable. And how are you going to live on that, right? Like, nobody thinks about these things. Nobody ever talks about these things. It's disturbing because it's so the real world impact of a person who worked her or his entire life to get a pension in their old age and then retires, and their pension doesn't happen to be indexed for inflation, and they live their retirement 6-7 years, and then all of a sudden inflation goes wild, and now every single month their pension's worth less. And it's not like they were wealthy. It's not like, Steve retired and now he can't buy as much caviar as he used to. No! Steve retired. He's not sure he can buy groceries anymore. He's not sure he can buy heating oil and propane to keep his house warm. Like, this matters. There are very real things that we need to be talking about before we go and explore the idea, I don't want to work anymore. Like, it's just not... Let's make sure nobody's starving to death and freezing to death first before we say, all right, Toby, you don't have to work anymore. Like, I don't care about Toby. Toby can go work. Like, Toby, get off your ass. Come on. People are starving to death. Anyways, I'm ranting, but yes, it really does impact our industry. And it's weird to watch. It's just weird to watch. It's weird to watch people go down that path. We shouldn't have to work anymore. I don't care about those people. I shouldn't have to work. All right. That's cool, I guess, if that's something you can live with. Like and subscribe. Or don't. Comment down below. I will check your comments. I will try to respond. You can tell me how I'm wrong. You can explain to me the error of my ways. I will read. I will respond. I might even agree. You never know.